Okay, it's story time. Now, I'm going to do this in one take. If I screw up, I could just edit it out. Otherwise, I'm leaving it in. So, the story I'll be telling is of probably the best haul, well, easily the best haul I've ever had in my life. It all started one day when I was, probably playing some NES or Genesis, because I was in 6th grade at the time, and at the time that's what I played a lot of, especially Genesis. I might have to talk about the Genesis in one video. But anyway, so I'm playing, Genesis or NES, like I said, and my mom comes into the room and she's like, Grandma and Grandma want to talk to you. Grandma and Grandpa, my grandparents aren't lesbians. And yeah, so they never call me on the phone. I mean, what are we going to talk about? I'm in 6th grade. At the time, they were in their 70s. What do we have in common, you know? So, I answer the phone. I say, oh, hello? And they say, yeah, we're staying with your aunt down in Florida, as you know, during the winter. And her next door neighbors were in such a rush to leave that all the stuff they left behind they said we could take, and we found some video games. Would you like them? And of course I was so excited. I was like, yes, you have this game, you have this game. And they're like, I don't know, honey. So my mom, was like, okay, that's enough. I was like, all right, well, I'll see you at Easter. So that was like a couple months. I was eagerly anticipating the couple months. I just had all these ideas in my head as to what these games would be. But I tried to caution myself. I didn't want to get too hyped up. I didn't want to, get too anxious or whatever, because usually when that happens, I get disappointed. So I told myself, okay, it's probably just a couple video games, which is still really cool. A couple video games for free. I mean, I'm up for that, even if the games suck. So yeah, Easter comes and I visit my grandma and grandpa, and, I get there and I'm like, okay, calm yourself, don't get too anxious, focus on the TV. I think there's like a Star Trek The Next Generation marathon on or something. So, I watched that, because I didn't know when they would bring it out. I didn't know if it would be 10 minutes from now, a day from now, or right before we leave. It ended up being 10 minutes after we got there. So they bring it out. I want to say it was 2 big boxes of games. There was probably around 150, maybe even 200. This, based on memory, they probably had like 60 NES games, like 60 Super Nintendo games, and we'll say 20 and 64 games, Super Game Boy, some Game Boy games. I think there's only like 5, and if I remember right, I think there's 3 N64s in there, and I think they were all different colors too. So, needless to say, I was very stoked. I played it all weekend. I like, before I even left, I was like looking at all the games. I still hadn't even played half of them. So I got all of these games, and, well, you know what? Let's get the negative part out of the way. So my cousins, they look at the games and they ask if they could have some of the games. Well, it wasn't really an option. They picked out Mario Kart 64 and Mortal Kombat 4, some Mortal Kombat game on the N64. I was like, oh, well, I kind of want Mario 64. He's like, well, you got all these other games. It's like, okay, alright, go ahead, take it. Point taken, You can't really argue beyond that point without sounding like a completely selfish bastard. But here's a really bad part. My uncle, he grabbed Killer Instinct Gold, which is fine. I had Killer Instinct, and I didn't even know if I'd like it or not. And he grabbed one of the 2 games that I've been looking for so long, and are pretty much the 2 games that I look for. Like, every time I go to a garage sale, whether I think about it or not, I'm always secretly hoping I'll find these 2 games. They're pretty much like holy grails to me, except they're a little more common than the Holy Grail. And one of those two games is Chrono Trigger. That was in there. I could have had it for free, and my uncle took it. And I said, you know, please take any other game. Take Super Mario RPG, because they were both worth about the same amount. He said, well, you've got all these other games. It's like, yeah, you're right. So I could have had Chrono Trigger for free, and now it runs for $80. And I really want it. And back then it was only $50. Only $50. So with the negatives out of the way, just for the sake of time, I want to show you some of my favorite games of all time that I got for free because they were in that collection. Alright, let's take a little tour, huh? Alright. Let's see. Oh. Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. A game I had to get used to, because I was used to being really good at Donkey Kong Country 1, because I played it all the time. So at first I was getting frustrated with Donkey Kong Country 2, but I eventually got into it, and I really did. Super Mario All-Stars. Now, it's not only cool because it has the lost levels on it, but it's also cool because you can save your progress on Super Mario 2 and 3, which was very nice for me because I was terrible at those games and I'm still not very good. So it's nice to save without having to go through the same first few worlds over and over again. Now, as one of my earliest memories is playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So this was really cool. Super Street Fighter 2. And I know there's a bad glare, I'm sorry guys. But I mean, I've loved Street Fighter for as long as I can remember. And here we go, you got Street Fighter 2, but with new characters. You can't go wrong with that. So, yeah, that was awesome. A game I'm very glad I got for free because it might be the most valuable game that I got out of this. Turtles in Time. This runs for like $50 on eBay or something like that, and it's pretty ridiculous. Then again, I think pretty much all these prices are ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Well, F-Zero. I don't know if this is the copy that I got, but it doesn't really matter. Doing this with one hand, guys. There we go. Although my favorite Mortal Kombat game is the first one on Genesis, this is still really good. Mortal Kombat 2. Now, normally, I love RPGs, like some RPGs. Final Fantasy II might be my favorite game of all time, and pretty much every RPG that I've played, I absolutely love. But I couldn't get into this one. I was very disappointed. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. I'm sorry, but that whole story with wishes, I can't get into it. I'm sorry. I know some people can't get into the Final Fantasy II story. I don't know what they're smoking. I love the Final Fantasy II story. Then but I'm very biased towards it because I pretty much spent like 6 years of my life watching my brother play through it. And those 6 years of my life were, before I was 12, we'll say. So, yeah, I have very fond memories of that game. But anyway, another game's down there. Alright, well, let's look at the NES games. My NES collection was not very good until this came along. And here we go. Hold on to your ass. It's Battletoads. This game is awesome. I don't like it as much as I used to. It used to be like one of my all-time favorite games. Now I just think it's, really good. I thought this was I really like this. It's Donkey Kong Classics. You know, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. And, you know, Donkey Kong was one of the first NES games I played because it was on Animal Crossing. Dr. Mario. I actually, now that I think about it, I haven't played that much of that game, but it's still really cool to have. Oh, Mega Man. And Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. And Mega Man 3. Okay. I'm gonna have to take some liberties with this one because I bought this one online for like 20 bucks. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! But I got just Punch-Out! For free in there, which is really cool. TMNT 2, the arcade game, and Tetris. Oh, and pretty much every good N64, well, pretty much every N64 game that I have because of this. Now, there's some stuff in the way. You know, if you hate messy rooms, go ahead and tell me about it. 1080 snowboarding. I remember that was a game that me and my cousin pretty much played that whole weekend. Bomberman 64. To be perfectly honest, guys, I'm just going to show you my entire N64 collection. Diddy Kong Racing. Pretty much every game in my N64 collection. Extreme G. F-Zero X. Oh my god. GoldenEye. This is a game that me and my cousin played all the time. Like, okay. There's like 2 or 3 times we visited where we played that the whole time pretty much. Mario Party. Oh yeah, there's a lot of whatever. Oh, that's my brother's sports game. No, that's my brother's. Star Fox 64, and I have to explain. I had Super Mario 64, but I sold it to my friend, and in the confidence that I'd eventually find it at a garage sale again. But you know what? I feel like it's a good enough collection. I should find it at some point. And as far as the 2 games that I wish I had that my family members kind of pressured me into giving to them, Mario 64 and Chrono Trigger, I think I'll find them eventually. At least Mario Kart 64. It just seems. Well, anyway, those are the great games that I got for 100% free. I feel very blessed for it. I'm surprised I've had any luck since then because lightning hardly ever strikes twice. Sometimes it does, but excuse me. It doesn't really. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did telling it, and I'll see you later.